You are safe and at home. Okay, so today in this third part of our video, that is from chapter first, 11th Commerce OCM, nature, scope and purpose of the business. Today we are going to study about the types of business activities, or you can say classification of business activity. Until now we have studied about the business, the economic activity, non-economic activities, and types of economic activities, that is business, employment and profession. Hope you all have revised it in the yesterday's video. Today we'll move further with the same chapter, and as told earlier, tomorrow we will try to have a short quiz on the chapter 1 in the form of test or MCQs, and also we'll be writing the notes for this chapter. Okay, so moving forward in today's video, classification of business activities. So this particular third part, we are actually making a video from the textbook only, because this part is given briefly in textbook and it is explained in very easy and good language. So I prefer explaining you from the textbook only. Okay, so talking about the classification of business activity. What is business activity then? Business activities are classified into three categories: trade, commerce, and industry. Three activities: trade, commerce, and industry. Until and unless, or we can say till now, almost all of you, or almost many of you, would consider trade, commerce, and industry one of its kind. Means we, not you only, the other laymen or in the, we can say, outer world also. Everybody seems, those who are not having proper knowledge of the OCM, seems that trade, commerce, and industry are one or the same thing. But no, it is not the same. Although the similarities are more, but there are certain differences between trade, commerce, and industries. All these are the three classifications of business activities. Means if you want to do a business, it can be done in the form of trade, it can be done in the form of commerce, or it can be done in the form of industries. Okay, so first one is trade. Now what is trade? See, what we do, see in the outside environment, or in the supportive environment of our, is trade. We can say 70-75% or 80% of the shops, do where do we visit, or where from whom we transact, are doing trade. Now what is trade? Trade means exchange of commodity or services in return of commodity or services, or exchange of commodity or services in return of money. Means trade means exchange of commodity or service. Exchange of commodity or service is important. It can be in against of any other commodity or service, or any other, or we can say in monetary, in exchange of money. Not only exchange, but the exchange should be with the motive of profit. The exchange should be with the motive of profit between two or more than two person is called trade. Okay, so three main things in trade application. First one is exchange of commodity or service. The second, exchange can be in against of money, or exchange can be in against of commodity or service. And third, the motive of profit should also be there. So when these three things compile, it is known as trade. Now example of trade, let us see. When you purchase a book from shopkeeper, it is trade. When you pay money against the purchase of book, so it is exchange of commodity in against of money. Here the exchange of commodity is done in return of money. When you purchase bus ticket and travel by bus, you get exchange of service in return of money paid. So as I told earlier, the 75 or 80% of the surroundings is covered by trade. Clear? Now what are the characteristics of trade? It is a business, or we can say a classification of business. It is definitely an economic activity. No single party can do it. So at least two parties in trade, that is purchaser and seller. The most important is exchange is essential. Exchange of commodity, service, or money is essential. In trade, transfer of ownership is done. Transfer, there are two things: transfer of ownership and transfer of possession. which I think we will understand in more deep in the our regular classes, we can say in our live sessions in the schools. But for now, what is transfer of ownership? Transfer of ownership means when I exchange a product or goods or commodity or service in against of money or any other kind, the one who with seems as a purchaser have the ownership. So the ownership is transferred from seller to the purchaser, and this is done in trade. Okay, for example, I purchase a book. We have known so before the purchase of book, the ownership was of seller. But as soon as I pay the money and purchase the book, now whose ownership is it? It is in the we can say the ownership is now of the purchaser. That can be me. Clear? So that is purchaser and seller, and transfer of ownership is done. Next, in exchange of goods, either an amount is paid or goods are exchanged. We already done this. Either an amount, that is monetary, or goods. Clear? Trade is a continuous activity. This is also important. Any activity done of exchange for once or twice is not considered as trade. For consideration under trade, it should be done regularly. It should be done regularly. For example, if you go for once or twice in a shop to purchase, and then shop is done, shop is shut down, then the shop is not known for doing trade. Trade should be done continuously. Trade should be done continuously. Clear? The value of goods or services determined in terms of money. Value should be determined in terms of money. That is a separate thing, that you are exchanging it for the money or not. Maybe you can exchange it for any other goods or commodity, but the value should be determined in the terms of money. It should be able to determine. It is not compulsory to determine, but at least it should be able to determine. Next is last one. Trade is a legal activity. It should be a legal activity. So these were the characteristics, easy characteristics. Next, types. There are two types: internal trade and international trade. As the name suggests, it is very easy to understand. Internal trade, trade among the different regions within the boundaries of a country is called internal trade. So any trade done within the India or within the territories of country is known as internal trade. Example: a trader of Rajkot or trader of Ahmedabad purchases box of apple from Kashmir, or trader of Nagpur send oranges to Rajkot. These are the examples of internal trade. Internal trade can be done between village to village, internally in the village, from one village to another village, internally in a city, from one city to another city, internally in state, or from one state to another state. So all these are the examples of internal trade. Now from the viewpoint of distribution, internal trade is divided into two parts. Again, very easy term which we know already: wholesale trade and retail trade. So these are the two types of internal trade on the basis of distribution. So why on the basis of distribution? Because in wholesale trade, the distribution is done in bulk, in large quantities, large scale. So wholesaler purchase goods in bulk from the producers and distribute them to the retailers as per the requirement of retailer. So wholesaler is a connecting link between producer and retailer. While in retail trade, a retailer purchases goods from wholesaler and send it or produce them or supplies them to the consumer as per the requirement of end consumer. So this is retail trade. Clear? Next is international trade. International trade is trade between two countries. Trade between two countries is called international trade. International trade crosses the boundaries of the country. A Japanese company selling television to Indian traders, or we can say Kesar mango being sent to USA from India, are the examples of international trade. International trade includes import trade, export trade, and re-export trade, for which we will be studying in detail these topics in chapter number 9 and 10, internal trade and international trade. So for now, this is the two types. Now the second type of classification of business activities, that is commerce. Now what is commerce? Commerce means trade and auxiliary services to trade. These services include the services of banking, insurance, transportation, communication, warehousing, and agents. The world has become a global village from point of view of trade and its auxiliary services. So commerce, in we can say a term, is a wider term as compared to trade. Commerce means trade as well as auxiliary services, but here commerce means majorly of auxiliary services. Now what is auxiliary services? Auxiliary services is an important term. It means those kind of services which are helpful to the businesses, helpful to grow the businesses, helpful to run the businesses. So we can say those services without which the present day business cannot be run. Now for example, uh, can we assume any business without a bank account? Can we assume any business without a contact number? We can say email or telephone numbers. Can we contact them? Can we assume any business without using transportation facilities? Can we assume any business without warehouses, that is go downs? So no, the answer would be no. So all these services are auxiliary services. So commerce in total means moreover of a service sector, we can say, moreover of the service sector, which all of the services which are being provided to the business for running smoothly or growing or expansion. Examples are banking, insurance, transportation, communication, warehousing, that is go down services, and agent services. Okay, now what are the characteristics of commerce? Trade is a part of commerce as discussed earlier. It is an economic activity, obvious. Auxiliary services are helpful to trade. Auxiliary services helpful to trade are included in commerce. So auxiliary services means those services which are helpful to trade: banking, insurance, transportation, etc. It increases time and place utility of the goods. It increases the utility, satisfaction power of the goods. Auxiliary services are demand oriented yet continuous. Why demand oriented yet continuous? For example, it is not compulsory to use each and every auxiliary services. It is not compulsory. For an example, for we can say a farmer who produces crops or grains will would be needing and we can say go down, that is warehouses, on transportation facilities, and moreover we can say banking and insurance, but he would not be in the requirement of emails or a strong communication network. While on the other hand, a IT company would not be requiring transportation services because they don't need to transport something physically, but rather they would be needing a good insurance, or we can say a good communication network. So it is demand oriented. Whatever your demand, you can use those kind of services. If auxiliary services are available at reasonable price, goods can be supplied to the customer at fair price. Auxiliary services do hamper, or we can say do lay down importance on the price or cost of the products. The more cheaper your auxiliary services, the more cheaper your product would be. The costlier your auxiliary services, the costlier your product price would be. Clear? Now we are saying that trade is a part of commerce, but there are certain differences between the trade and commerce. What is different? Those first one is, in trade there is exchange of goods or services in return of money, while here in commerce it includes trade as well as auxiliary services. Scope of trade is limited. Scope of commerce is wider because trade is included plus auxiliary services are also there. Both the parties of trade are mostly known to each other, or we can say in or are in proximity. Proximity means close contact, while it is not necessary that in commerce both the parties are in proximity. Even they can be distant places and unknown, still they can use and obtain the auxiliary services. For example, if I am having a bank account in ABC bank, so it is not sure that I would be knowing the owner of the ABC bank personally, but I am still using its services. If I'm using telecom company, a Zio card or Airtel card, but I might not be knowing the owner or the manager, but still I'm using its services. Okay, but in trade if I'm not knowing the shopkeeper, or we can say if I'm purchasing a good from shop, there are chances that I would be knowing that shopkeeper in close contact. Clear? And last one is industries. Industry is very easy. Probably we would be coming across this industry topic since we were in 6th or 7th or 8th class. So what is industry? A process of converting raw materials into finished or semi-finished goods by adding utility to satisfy human needs is called an industries. Or we can say majorly industries means manufacturing sector, processing sector, manufacturing of furniture from the wood, manufacturing of clothes from raw cotton. Okay, so what is industry all about? Industry is production, economic activity or change in the form of raw materials, production of different articles, adding utility, using human labors, natural resources and machines are considered as the characteristics of industries. Again, the industries are classified into three types: primary, secondary and tertiary. What is primary? Primary industries means these industries or those industries which are fundamental industries and connected with sea, land and air, or rather you can say connected with nature, connected with natural products. So production activities relied on nature. Best examples are agriculture, animal husbandry, poultry farming are connected with land, fisheries is connected with sea. So all these are the primary industries directly connected with sea, land, air, nature. What is second industry? The industries where machines and technologies are more used. Here the natural wealth that we got from primary sector is processed to make it consumable to the end supplier and supplied to the customer. Example: fertilizer industries, color industries, chemical industry, steel industry, etc. Clear? And last one is tertiary industry. Again, tertiary industry is a service sector, which you already know that it provides and helps services to primary and secondary industries. It provides helps and services to primary and secondary industries. The products obtained from the primary industries and secondary industries are made more consumable for customers with different processes. Example: dairy industries, cold drink industries, bakery industries. So tertiary industries include the services of banking, insurance, transportation, warehouses, agents, communication, all the auxiliary services we can say. Now this is the best example to understand primary, secondary and tertiary industries, but we'll do a certain change in this. So production of wheat is a primary industry. Production of wheat is a primary industry. Now production of flour from wheat is a secondary industry, or we can say production of flour and bread from that particular flour is a secondary industry. And instead of production of bread considering it tertiary industry, but we can say producing or making that bread available at the demand place or where the customer need is through using transportations or any other auxiliary services is tertiary industry. Clear? So I hope you guys understand. If any doubt, you can ask me personally also and fill the comment section. Tomorrow we'll try to write down the notes for this chapter and we'll have a quick and easy test quiz. I hope you guys have understand. In case of any doubt, please fill the comment section, like the video and subscribe the channel. And stay home, stay safe. Happy learning.